Okay, so the last presenter of this session is Dr. Chandrasekharan Praveen, who is the former principal of the Institute of Advanced Study in Education, Thrissur, Kerala, India. We'll be talking about the bunch perception of women during the war years. A very interesting topic indeed. So I would like to invite Dr. Praveen to begin his presentation.
Respected Chair, at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving us an opportunity to present a paper. And this is based on my actual review of magazines which are 100 years old. It's a Punch magazine published in the UK. You can see that here, it's a cover page here. So this is a topic. Okay, let me begin. I'll quickly tell you something about the background, the objective, the method, the findings, and the limitations of my study. Okay, you all know this is the background. A suffragette is a woman seeking the right to vote through organized protest. And in the UK, this is from the BBC News, the women who protested in the beginning of the 20th century, some of them were arrested, they were suppressed. Then, but that was also the time when women were openly protesting. This is just a cartoon which appeared about the protest. See what she says. It is no good talking to me about Sisyphus. He was only a man. You know the story of the Sisyphus of Camus who rolls up the stone all the way up the hill and then rolls it back down. So she says she can do it. So people used to make fun of the whole thing. Even Punch magazine used to do that. Another thing is that was the time the First World War broke out between 1914 and 1918. And you know, that was the time then suddenly governments in Europe realized that we need women to work with us to help in war, and so they welcomed them to join. So now the suffragette movement, they were being criticized. Now they want women. So how did the Punch magazine perceive the whole thing? That is the objective of my study, to identify the Punch perception, okay, of women during the First World War. Okay, I'm beginning with the assumption that cartoons represent valid perceptions of people and events. Okay. So as I said, I did physically examine these back issues. What is the strategy? I look at it, I see this, I think about it, I relate it to documents, historical, to check the accuracy of the, and then try to find out the message of what the cartoonist was trying to give. Now, I identified 10 cartoons from the collection which I could access. For ease of comparison, I have classified under 3 heads: women serving in the Red Cross, women in military service, and homemakers during the First World War. So that is how I've classified it. This, as you can see, is the first cartoon. Date of publication you saw, August 4, 1915. This particular lady is a surgeon, you know, and this gentleman, he was a police officer. In fact, she suddenly says, I have seen you somewhere. Look at the meekness with which she looked. In fact, you know, he had beaten her up. And now, but then now, you know, she is a surgeon and he is meekly about to receive treatment from her. Look at the faces of the nurses, you know, and this gentleman here, another soldier, they're grinning. So this is some indirect way of suggesting, man, you may be powerful, you know, but then ultimately you need to live in peace. Situations like this can happen. Probably the cartoonist was trying to give that message. Okay. Here's another one. This is a war maid and this is a kitchen maid. And then look at the conversation. What they say. See, I'm really a university lecturer, but at a time like this, we are all human beings. They're all serving the army. Look at it. If you study closely, you know, uh, women working as university lecturers had to join the army. That means in 14 the war had started. By 2 years the situation became so worse that university lecturers started serving in the army. So imagine the plight of women during that time. Here's another one, January 19th, 1916. There's an injured soldier. As you know, women were taking care of these. I know this gentleman, he is dictating notes to his wife, She's writing a letter. And then this is what she actually says. The Tommy, nurse, you please write it like this. The nurses here are very plain. And the nurse says, oh, come. I say, that's not very polite of us. Then you know what the soldier says? Never mind, nurse, put it down. It'll please her. My wife, when she reads the letter, when she sees that, okay, the nurses, now look at the connotation of the whole thing, how women who look after the family when the husbands are away, now they are injured, already the psychological impact of the war, and now they fear that even the nurses can do, then can get into their family life and create problems for them. You see the plight of women here. Okay, here's another one. But here actually, this gentleman is injured, but he is refusing to eat. But women, they take good care of injured soldiers. And then she says something. Oh, come on, you can nibble it away. And finally, he yields and he eats it. See how women can also take care of men, injured. And unlike our male nurses, and women have something else. So even the wife is away, this women can do that better. So this again highlights the role women can play. And this is women in the military. Okay, this is just a rest for them. As you can see, I have an Amazon crop standing easy. And what's the weakness for women? They try to put on a lot of makeup. So this is men trying. It's the men's perspective of women in uniform. It you can't help it. It always there. But then here's another one. This is the kind of uniform, the frock, particularly in the Highlands, Scottish Highlands. This is the national uniform of an officer. So when women started, she is returning the salute. But this is how he returns the salute. Because remember, in the beginning of the century, these men were suppressing the rights of women to vote during the month. But now they are equals. You have to return the salute. You see, so this is a historical document which says, okay, now they are beginning to get recognized as equals. Okay. Here's another one, homemakers during the war. This is from a middle class family. The Germans, they were bombing using the Zeppelin. It's a floating ship, And then this girl is asking, mother, why didn't you wake me up? And the mother says, okay, next time I'll wake you up. When they bomb, see, the mother is worried, the children might get hurt. So she thought, if you're inside the house, you're safer. But this is a middle class family. But what really happened during the war was that people who were poor, the poor neighborhoods, they were all destroyed. So look at the plight of the men. The husband is away, she has to take care of the children, but then war can have devastating effects. Here's another one. These are all middle class women. This guy is from a lower class, this boy. And he is called the civilian. But who is the civilian? You read between the lines. These mothers, they dress their children in military uniform. That is their way of showing their national spirit. But this boy, he is like a loafer. He runs with his wheel. He doesn't know what is happening here. So this is also trying to show how the different class system, how they perceive the war. This typical cartoon will tell you a lot about it. Okay, and here's another one. There's some kind of a god of honor, and this lady, she immediately rushes with an umbrella. Oh, poor man, he is in the rain. In army, during such event, they are not supposed to leave the be it rain, sunshine, or snow. But women, she's so innocent, she rushes to with the umbrella to protect this man, So women don't know what war is, how dangerous it is. Probably is one. Or maybe rich ladies like this, they don't know what war basically signifies. Here's the last of this thing, and this particular lady is from upper class family, definitely. Look at her dress, it shows you something like that. But then, the general tendency was to be extremely polite to soldiers who are injured. But then this is going beyond that. This lady is inquiring, where exactly in your head was it hit? And then the soldier said it was like the shell burst right over me. You remember, men try to forget the injury. But then, she is so concerned. She has tell me exactly it as though she has an answer for it. War is terrible. Women don't know that. But so this is one way of making fun of the whole thing. But then there are limitations to my study. I'm separated in terms of culture, time, and space. I'm looking at documents which are 100 years old. So there's every likelihood of my interpretation likely to be challenged, the accuracy of my interpretation. But then what is the takeaway from it? What I've done is I've tried to cull out and document an authentic record of how women were perceived 100 years ago. That's a takeaway from here. These are some of the references, okay, and I also there's some of the references here, and I must also acknowledge. In fact, this is based on a study which I've done it through a University Grants Commission funding. I studied in this college, I worked in this college, it's 100 years old. They have an antique book collection. I applied for a minor research project, it was awarded. Everything I put it in this particular website, you can see the new curator, but if you're interested, please visit it. So with that acknowledgement, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I would like to answer me. I'm stopping sharing my screen.
Thank you, Dr. Praveen, for such an interesting and nice presentation. This is a very significant one regarding the study of women, the history of the study of women. So,
yeah, can I have a question?
Oh, yes.
Good question. Yeah, thank you so much. It was really interesting. And my question is like, you were talking about how women are seen like 100 years ago. So are you going to plan like to compare it to with present time? How women are like accepted or I don't know valued? Like, is there any differences, or are you going to just focus on the last like history time?
Yes, thank you for the question. My prime consideration was this. If you look at the history, women were denied voting rights. Then the same women were asked to come and fight with the men involved. And then what ultimately happened, another 20 years later, governments in Europe realized that women need to be recognized. They were given voting rights. So it's a big shift. But then, hidden at the back of the mind, particularly of women, they tend to think that women are inferior. But women can serve. At least what happened at the time was when this was happening in Burma. If you look at women, they had a very high status. In China, women were doing business. So in Asia, it was a different story, but in Europe, it is. So in the march of European civilization, what I've done is document the evidence. This was how it is. In my paper, I've mentioned how it was different in Asia also.
Actually, that is very interesting that you are talking about. Yeah, that aspect of your presentation is very interesting, Dr. Praveen, that while the women were being denied to giving the voting rights, and at the same time they were being imposed upon the responsibility of work. So on the one hand, denying the right, and on the other hand, imposing the responsibility is something really exploitation. It is actually exploitation, of course.